so let's add mesh, plane. Now remember, last time we added a plane, it was 20 meters across. This one doesn't need to be nearly as much. Let's type in zero point 0.1. Can hardly even see it, can we? So I'm going to move that up. Now, so what's happened here is I've lost where I put that. There it is. So sometimes it's really hard to find the object that you're working on. If that ever happens, you can go up here to View and Frame Selected, and then it brings you to that view straight away. You can even add that to a keyboard shortcut. If you go View and right-click on Frame Selected, and if you choose Add to Shortcut, I've already done this, Add to Shortcut, and then what you can do, let's say I'm zoomed way out here somewhere and I can't find, I can't zoom in properly. I can go Q and then frame selected like that. Okay, so that's going to be our blade of grass. Let's just stand it up. I'm going to rotate it 90. I'm going to go into edit mode and we're going to change the shape of it to make it look like a blade of grass. So let's change the width of it, make it a little bit shorter. I'm going to select the top, choose scale, shrink it down a little bit. I'm going to add some loop cuts to it. Cut there, grab, bend it, make another cut, G, grab, bend it. You'd even add one down there, G, grab, bend it. Okay, so that's slightly in interesting shape. Go back to objects mode. Now, when we start to add in multiple things that are all the same type of shape originally, up here in this menu, it can get a little bit confusing. So you can actually rename these things. So I've got my blade of grass selected. If I double click here, I can name it grass blade. Okay, I might do the same to my other objects that I've got already. So I've got my tree. So I'm going to rename that cube tree. I'll click on the land and I'll click on the water. Okay, and that just makes it a little bit easier to be able to navigate as well. All right, so I've got my tiny little blade of grass here. So we're going to now add that as a particle. So I'm zooming out a little bit to get a better view of the landscape. And we'll go back to the particles. I'm going to hit plus. I'm going to name this one grass. Choose hair. Okay. 1000, that seems like a lot. We might do 300 and see what this looks like. So once again, we might have to go through and cut some of the particles from the river, but I might show you a different way of doing this as well this time. Okay, so let's scroll down, scroll down. So we change where it says render, change it to object. Now we might have a difficult time if we select the eyedropper tool here and then finding that little tiny blade of grass. So what we can do is just click on that square, and here we've renamed our shapes previously. We can just select grass from there. Select object rotation again, and we might need to scale it up a little bit just to be able to see. And when I start to scale it up, we can see instances of it appearing all over the landscape like that. Okay, so what we'll do is go back to the original blade of grass. I'm going to select grass blade. And like before, I think that what we'll have to do, oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't actually apply this rotation, but that's okay. I wonder what happens if I type in 0 there. Do they stand upright? If I zoom in a little bit, we'll be able to get a better view. And if I increase, I think that's done it actually. Go back to the particles, increase the scale just for now so I can see it clearly. Um, no, they're all at a funny angle. So I'm going to go back to grass blade, go to properties, and let's type in 90. Okay, let's type in 90 there. There we are. We got the grass standing upright. Now, we went through a process before with the tree where we changed the original tree's origin point to the bottom of the tree, and we should do that as well with the original blade of grass so that the grass is sticking out of the landscape and not going underneath it. So let's go back and do that. So my original blade of grass is over there. I go frame selected. I'm going to go into edit mode and select that bottom of the grass and go Shift S, cursor to selected. Go back to object mode, object, set origin, origin to 3D cursor. Okay, and there we are. That's better. So we can go back to our landscape now. I'm just zooming out a lot because I zoomed right in on that blade of grass. Okay, so let's make the grass a little bit of a better size. So clicking on the landscape, go to particles, scroll down to scale. Let's make that size a little bit more, something suitable to grass. Okay, that's pretty good. What we should have also done is added a color to that blade of grass. So I'm going to click on grass blade, go to material, new, and choose whatever color you want the grass to be. Okay. So if you ever wanted to use a color that you've already made, if you click on this little drop-down menu here, here's all the colors that you've previously made. And you can also rename the colors as well. So in this case, I've got the landscape selected and I can call that color land, and I can call the tree colors, for instance, that green color, tree leaves, change the color of the brown to tree trunk, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's get that grass looking a little bit better. Yes, there's lots of grass that's in the river. We can deal with that shortly. First of all, I think it would look better if there was a lot more grass. And there's an interesting way that we can do that. If we go to particles, we can increase the size here. So we could just go, well, let's see what it looks like with 600. And that spreads out a fair few more blades of grass. We can also, if we scroll down a little bit further, we've got a choice down here where it says children. And we can click on where it says simple. And this sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. But as soon as I've clicked on simple, for every blade of grass that we've got in the particle system, it's added 10 more around it. Okay, and that will give us maybe the appearance of little clumps of grass all around the landscape. You can also increase that size. In fact, when we render the shot, the scene, there'll actually be 100 extra blades of grass all around um, that single blade of grass. I might just change that to 50. 100 might be a bit enough. We can also just change the randomness of the size of all those blades of grass. So there's lots of things that you can fiddle with in Blender to get it exactly right. Okay, so we've got a fair amount of grass now throughout the scene, and that'll look nice when we render it. So if we wanted to get rid of all the grass that's in the river, one way of doing it is to go to Particle Edit, and you can go and cut all the grass that's in the river, and you can also then add other pieces of grass to the landscape. But we're going to try a different way. We're going to select Weight Paint. So if I click on that, your landscape should change to this. And what we can do is we can actually paint on the scene the areas we want grass to appear. So up here it says weight 1, which means maximum weight. Size refers to the size of this brush, basically, is what it is. So you can see when I click and drag, what it's doing is it's painting over all the vertices that make up that landscape shape. I might even just change the size of that to make it a little bit quicker. Oh, that's too big. Okay, and if we just select just the land, the grass should only grow on the land if we just click on a few other things as well. So I'm painting over that. This sort of thing is easier to do if you're in the top-down view. All right. So there, we've selected a lot of the area of the landscape that we want the grass to appear on. If you click over here to where it says Data, click on Data, scroll up to where it says Vertex Groups, and we can rename where it says Group, double click on that, and type in word grass. Okay, there's a few steps involved here, but it will make sense soon. Go back to Object Mode, go back to Particles, and we've got the particle system of the grass chosen. Scroll down, scroll down, scroll down to where it says Vertex Groups, and click on Density, Grass, and there we're telling Blender we just want grass distributed in the vertices that we chose before. Okay, so we can see there's quite a bit distributed throughout there. If you want to check what your scene looks like when you render it, go to the camera. To be able to control the camera, you have to hit N to bring up this menu, choose View, and lock camera to view. Hit N to get rid of that menu, and now we can control the camera. Let's position it somewhere in the scene where we might be able to see some of the trees and the grass, maybe a wide shot. Now there's no light in the scene yet either, so it'll appear probably fairly flat, but up here we can go render, render image. Okay, so this is our rendered scene, and we haven't put any lights in the scene yet, that's why it's so dark. But you can see there's little scatterings of grass over the hills, and this is where you can now make some adjustments. So I might go back and add a little bit more to the scene, just so we get a nicer effect. So I can just close that, leave the camera view, double click on the camera again, and just go back to the particles, and you can increase the number here. We can go increase that to 600, or down here, increase the number of children. So I might put that back at what it originally was. It was 100. Type in 100, and then we can see what it looks like again when we render it. This time I'm going to change the render to something where we can see a bit more light. So first of all, there is a light that's in the scene over here in your menu. There's a light that's been added automatically. When we click on light down, the little light bulb down here, it gives us options for light. And this is what's called a point light, which actually isn't all that strong. If we change it to sun, click on the sun, and that's a much stronger light, but it's set to strength 1000, which is crazily bright. You can change that to, say, 5. And now when we go to this rendered view, we can see the effect of the sun. on the scene. So our laptops struggle a little bit with being able to render shadows on the normal setting of Blender. So what we'll do, just make sure it's saved, and we can change what's called the render engine. Click on this little camera icon up here, and it says render engine Eevee. If you choose cycles, we're going to get a very different view of the scene. Okay, and we can see over here what it's doing is it's processing the scene through a different way of processing all the data. So now, if we go back to the camera and we render the scene again, we should get a much different view. This time we're going to have some shadows, we're going to have it nicely lit, and we should get a better idea of what the scene looks like. So position your camera somewhere that you think looks good, and then we go render, render image, and this one will take a little while to process all that data.